You're listening to The Grapevine. Good morning in the afternoon, as this lady next to me used to once say in her time. Mulweni Absheni Dumelang, hello. Yeah, all of the above, because we're in a country that has like 11 languages, and you're like, oh my word, no.
Hello.
Sanbonani.
I think
That's like our entry level greeting. You know, when you just hear hello.
Okay, you've become Karen now.
Sanbonani, you must just know that we've just landed.
Okay, she's Karen today.
No, not Sevedelan Karen as a brief. As a brief toch. No, Sevedelan have subtitles. Yeah, in the Popasal dance type of vibe, like that's where my Afrikaans is at, please. Come here with equally Afrikaans.
You know, I've got this thing of when I'm angry, I can't swear in Xhosa or English. But you fluke man in the Afrikaans. And my mom was like, everyone I speak to, when I swear at you, I curse in Afrikaans. They're like, why?
I'm that meme, you know that meme of Harry
when I'm angry, like the Afrikaans just sprouts out. I'm like, why? I'm black. I am Xhosa, for heaven's sake. As close as they can be.
I'm that Harry meme when Harry was pointing at that guy back in the days when he was wilding out. I'm like, hey, you're fucking. Hey, soon, hey, yo, bleep, your massa, please, hey. You bled this one, yeah, don't test me, I'm not HIV. Like, I'm there. Like, with me personally, I'm there.
Being raised in Cape Town, like, evokes a different...
Fam, like, my mom, she shocked me. She actually shouted at my kid in English, Afrikaans, and his close. And the closer part came as the entry level by, hey, so going to Gobi. Then it was, I'm definitely going to deal with you right now. And then she just went into Afrikaans, and I was like, and my child like, just stood there, like, stopped, dropped, and rolled.
That way. Someone sent me a TikTok video where, I don't know, this girl was in it's a Setu video, and he's like, hey, Setu, what time are we leaving? Or can I bath with you? And then, can I take a shower with you? And then says, I have time when I those things, like, please, add blips here. But she went from Xhosa to English to Afrikaans, and the person said, this is you. Like, and I knew that it's me.
I feel like that's the only way, though. It's the only way. If you're born and bred in Cape Town, it's the only way you can actually express yourself, because there's not a single person that I've seen. I'm talking about like Michelle on the N2 losing her mind with the taxis, and she will hoist some closer in there, and I'm like, well done, Sissy. Like, I'm driving next to her, and I'm like, well done, Mama. You used it in the right context, you know? And she's like, yeah, no Basila. And I'm like, yes, get Basila, in fact. You know?
Anyway, welcome. Welcome to the Grapevine. You are with these two gorgeous ladies. Over time, you will see our faces, and you'll be like, oh, Kantingaba.
Guys, this is science BBLs. Focus on the bodies.
It is your girls with it is a no Mama Nande. You smash me, but I am grabbed. Yes, man. Former journalist, now turned media specialist, and the beautiful lady sitting across me is
Sanelisi. We're away to Interbeanie. AKA Umama Action, AKA Umama Kansika.
The smile, guys.
AKA Mama Action. Guys, there's something about when a man calls you like Mama Kazbang. I'm not gonna lie. It's like close to like being called by your clan name. So
that's me. If you call me by my clan name, like listen, it's like you're calling my forefathers. I have this thing.
Like my ancestors are like, it's fine, take her, Mtata. It's like they're handing you over on a silver platter.
Like when you call me by my clan name, Joe. Mamela, it's like it's divine intervention.
It's got that thing. But before we even begin this episode, we'd like to mention that we're proudly brought to you by, proudly sponsored by
7 and 9th podcast production company. They are a female-led production company and specialize in podcasts. And it is through their work that we are here. It is a lovely partnership that we have with them. They are great. They are good. And it's an all-woman team, including us. So if you like everything that's female-led, please subscribe, like, comment, share.
Do all of the above, too. Sanba selfish. Sanba selfish ngedatha.
Sikhulise family.
Such by like is like 0.01 megabytes. It's not a lot.
Let's grow this family. Today we're delving deep. We are looking at our emotion and mental state. We've come through from December where it was crazy, siyajaiva, festive, nice time, and then we came into, I always say January is like a depressive month. It's too long. We suffer financially. Everything is on a down, and then it's
the month financially. And that time, guess the expenses just expense.
Exactly, and then we go into February, the month of love. And if you're not with someone, you feel it. Like you literally feel it. That ndi alone. It's like I was lucky. It wasn't that bad for me. But normally I used to feel ashamed. I don't want to lie. And have FOMO of not being in a relationship. And now we're in March and it is my birthday month. Bop, 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 bop. Please, Basilami.
Okay, but I just want to know what are your plans for your birthday so that mentally I'm prepared for what is to come.
Guys, I'll be turning 31. That means we must get sloshed.
31st, so it's like a 21st.
Like let's get drunk.
It's like a 10-year reunion.
I love that.
Of a 21st
so what we
type
go
of
out. I wonder. So what we don't sleep.
I'm gonna be that meme that
we
throws
just
away the
having
baby.
Fun. That's my jingle. We don't care who sees.
I ain't nobody, mama.
So what we got loud. That's where I'm supposed
please.
to be. That's gonna be my jingle for my birthday. Living loud and wild and free.
Please invite me to the couples version of your birthday because
there's no couples version.
My body doesn't recover the same way it used to.
There's no couples version.
I need 3 working
couples
days.
Version for what?
To open my eyes.
My friend, my birthday is on a long weekend. It's a long weekend, literally. It should be if you take the Monday off, leave day.
No, Chomi, I don't take the Monday off. Unless the school volunteers the Monday. Then I have a problem. Then I must parent an extra day. No. And be told I don't play like the friends or I don't do things like a teacher.
I'm
not ready at all.
So, March is where we're at now, and we're looking at how do you take care of yourself? It's the start of the year. We're still fresh within 2023. What's some of the tips that you have, or how do you self-care right
for
now?
Me personally, what I have actually done is I've booked therapy sessions as per my medical aid for the whole year. So there's a set date even of every month that is blocked in my calendar, and it's called a self-care day. I choose a weekday because it is when my child is at school. So I don't have to stress and worry and think about, oh my gosh, my child, whatever. The only thing I know is that I just need to fetch him from school, and then that's about it. So it gives me enough hours from drop-off, and I do my therapy session very early on in the morning. So I've got the rest of the day to myself. And what I do at the rest of the day, it honestly depends, but I take myself out on solo dates. So I will go out by myself, sit at a restaurant, read a book, journal, do whatever. Check, for instance, like my plans as well, because what I do at the beginning of each year is I sign a contract with myself where I contractually oblige myself to reach certain goals by certain like periods and whatever, and I do like a review. So I go through my list and I'm like, okay, I have like it, and I set it up in such a way it's like spiritual, mental, financial, all of those things. Like, am I meeting the things that I've set up for me to do? Because it's a consistent thing. You can't just be like, okay, I'm going to do a vision board and then I can throw it up in the air.
Implementation.
It's the implementation. So it's like I strategize and I sit and I'm like, okay, cool. This I was supposed to do, but I didn't do it. So in order for me to be able to get back into, the wagon or whatever else, I need to then see how I can utilize this time or the space in order so that the next time I sit down by myself, how I'm actually able, to achieve what I needed to achieve or to make up for the lack thereof. That's generally what I do, because I've been such a selfless person where I've given myself to a lot. Friends, family, even in relationships, I've reached that selfish peak. And when I say I've reached that selfish peak, it means that I'm prioritizing myself because the people that I prioritize do not prioritize me in the way that I deem fit.
That's so true.
And I cannot expect my child, who is a toddler, to prioritize me other than to give me a headache, because that is where the allowance is. But I've just reached that point whereby now I've learned my lesson in terms of giving. It is a very painful process, I am not going to lie, because it is very heartbreaking to reach that point whereby you've realized that the people that you have moved mountains for cannot even move a grain of salt for me. And realizing that, and stopping that habit as well, because it's a habitual thing and a coping mechanism. That's something that I learned in therapy. This thing of being selfless and being for everybody, like trying to be Mandela, it's a coping mechanism to a childhood trauma. And I'm dealing with that now, which is why it's easy for me to say, you know what, I'm giving you the same energy. And in as much as people are like, oh, I feel like you've ghosted me, what's going on and whatever else, it's because I'm prioritizing myself. Because you never made me a priority. And I was a source of convenience, so get back.
I think it's. I love that because we've had these conversations before.
Offline.
Offline, where I feel like our life paths are very similar. It's just how we navigate through it that's different.
Yeah.
For me, I started therapy in 2020. A lot was happening in my life at the time where it felt like I had a panic attack where I crashed my car at some point. When you're driving and there was no trigger, but I just found myself crying in the middle of Baden-Powell Road after dropping off my daughter at school, and I just could not breathe. And it was so scary at that time to go through that emotion of being overwhelmed in your own emotions. It is scary. And I won't lie, anxiety is something that I suffer from. Depression is something that I suffer from. I isolate myself. Because I'm wired to be a solution driver. Everything, I think, solutions, that I forget to endure. I pray for an end. I don't pray for strength to endure.
Yeah.
Because it's very important to not only want to see the end of it, but God be with me that I'm able to endure this pain. Let me live through it. Let me suffer. Let me feel it. Because there's a lesson through enduring some things. And because I'm wired that way, sorry, I just drifted apart.
Yeah.
Because I'm wired that way, I felt like I felt obligated to take care, to do things, to always recover from something and not feel the things that I'm feeling. And it was because I never took time out to feel the pain, the trauma, the happiness as well.
Yeah.
I never felt those things, that they came all at once. And then it hit me and I couldn't deal with it. So I started therapy, and with my therapy, it was firstly weekly sessions and then it became monthly sessions as I progressed. And there were certain tools that I learned. Understanding my feelings, first of all, is something that I never knew. When I'm angry, what makes me angry? And when I'm angry, what do I do? And what action or behavioral pattern that I showcase when I'm feeling a certain way? Everything for me went into isolation. That's why I say I suffer depression and anxiety, because my key or my solution to every emotion that I was feeling was isolate, be alone,
Yeah.
And that is what created this monster of pain, of just suffering internally and mentally, because it's not physical. Because it's not physical, you tend not to feel it, you can't see it, but it's in your head. And I did the therapy sessions, and from that day that I signed up, I've been doing it monthly. I have monthly sessions where I learn boundaries, and that goes to taking care of others. I've learned to say I can't or no, and it's hard. saying no is hard for someone who's always said, okay, I will try. Let's find a solution. Saying no is the worst thing because you feel like defeated. You feel like a failure when you say no. That's how I used to feel. But now I'm like, when I say no, it's not because I choose to just say no. It's just that I know it's beyond me and I cannot do it. And some things are just not for me. And I need to set that boundary. And now when I say no, it feels like a victory sometimes.
Yeah.
That, you know what, you did it, girl. You were able
Well done.
to, you know, it feels like something. It's a great achievement sometimes because I've never been able to do that.
You know, it reminds me of this quote that I was actually searching for, which for me was my turning point, where it's actually by a South African psychologist, Dr. Susan Davids. And she says, tough emotions are part of our contract for life. You don't get a meaningful career or raise a family or leave the world a better place without stress and discomfort.
Yeah.
Discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. Let me say, when I read that, I was like, okay, it's okay. Because we are so caught up and fixated in positive affirmations.
Yes.
You got to be good. You know, have a good day. You got to be happy. You got to smile and whatever. And we shove the negative emotions, or like we make it seem like it's an unnatural thing. And then when we fall apart, we're like, but I thought I was okay because I had, you know, my positive, affirmations, use kind, use beautiful, use all the whatever. But we never actually get to that point where we have that space where we're able to say, I'm not okay.
A trick or a method that I learned through my therapy, and I love saying it, and I think I want to say it because we're exchanging tools here. That's why we're here. Because once you get into anxiety or a depressive state, the small things will trigger you. And sometimes it's things that are not even related to what you're going through that will trigger you. My therapist once said to me, think of a scenario where you're walking and you're just walking past and a group of girls laugh. They just laugh. Maybe they were standing there having conversation, and as you pass through them, they start laughing. What are your thoughts immediately when they laugh? And I said, they're laughing at me. And she said, and how does that make you feel? How does that immediately make you feel? And then I said, it makes me feel angry. It makes me feel upset. It makes me feel mad. You know, it makes me feel ashamed, embarrassed, you know. And those feelings, the anger, what does that anger make you do? You know, it's either you're going to go fight them, you're going to go confront them, or you're going to isolate. And I said, well, I don't confront, I isolate. And then when you isolate, how does that make you feel? Like, what happens to you? I'm depressed. I'm alone. I feel alone. Therefore, and then I've said that whole line, and then she said, did you ever for a moment think that they might be laughing at the conversation that they're having on their own and it has nothing to do with you?
No.
I'm like, no.
Then why did they laugh when I was walking past?
Exactly. You know, it's little things that trigger you.
Thing, like, why then? But
why?
But we never understand timing of things.
Exactly.
Because especially in public spaces, that's what I've realized, which is why even how people just get shot and killed and whatever, because people just assume, and that's the thing. It's one of the biggest issues that we have. It's an assumption. We assume that these people are talking about me, or this comment was made about me because we picked it up in our peripheral view.
My maths teacher used to say, assumptions is making an ass out of you and me.
But it's making an ass more of you than me, because you are the one that just assumed. And that's the thing. We are so conditioned, and it speaks to our conditioning as people. We are so conditioned to assume that the surrounding environment is against us. We don't see it that people are also existing in the same space that we are existing in.
Exactly. And I think that's an important lesson because that contributes to our mental state. Because a huge bulk of mental health and how we view ourselves is based on what people say and what people do and what others, it's about the peripheral view, and it's not about you. And I think it's very important that you need to understand yourself, understand your traumas, acknowledge your traumas. Life listen, there could be traumas where dad neglected me. There could be traumas that maybe I was raped as a child. There could be traumas that I was bullied at school. There could be traumas that I had everything, but my parents didn't give me time.
Yeah.
You know, our traumas vary and they affect us in different ways. But I think it's very important to understand your traumas and be able to identify your trauma and deal with the trauma. Don't shove it down and make it okay, you know. Understand, deal with it. Talk to someone about it if you can. Psychologists are available. But
it's a free resource.
You know, I think that's the thing. It's a scarce free resource. People don't know where to access these things, you know.
And if you do try to access it, you must be at the brink of suicide.
Exactly. And I think the biggest thing, we are fortunate because we are on medical aid. You can just make a call and set up an appointment. But for those that don't have access, there are organizations that are here. There's SADAV, there's FAMSA, there's quite a number of them. Just take time to Google them and make that call before you get to a point where you can't anymore. And we will include a strap with numbers where you can call for mental health.
I think also as a society, we have a collective responsibility to ensure that we create safe spaces within our friendships and within our relationships as well, more especially within our families.
Yes.
Because we can preach and whatever else, but it all legitimately starts at home. Like, what are you bringing forward to the table in your homestead?
And
are you a safe space as well as a person?
And understand, I think with our families, especially black families, I will say black families because I come from one. And I know you come from one. Let's acknowledge feelings. I'm training Zenande to acknowledge feelings. My child went to therapy and I'm proud of that. Not because she was misbehaving or there was behavioral issues, but she needs to know how to cope and how to identify and deal with her own emotions. You know, let us be a society that is okay with talking about how we feel. And not that you need to be good all time. You don't have to be okay. It's okay not to be okay.
Exactly.
We sitting here, go through, Sunday, I've called you crying, you've called me crying. There needs to be that one person that you can just offload. And half the time, when you are the person listening in on someone, it's just okay to listen. Not all the time you need to have answers. You know what I mean? It's okay to just be the ear or the sounding board of just being there, because half the time that's all you want. That's all you desire, someone to just listen and say, I hear you. And it's okay to feel that way. Just someone acknowledging the feelings, I think for me is very important.
Yeah. I think, guys, you can even hit me up if you want to vent. I've always just made sure that my social media platforms are safe spaces. And I do that because I understand that it's easier to speak to a stranger than it is to speak to, you know, somebody.
Sure.
And I do that not because I want to know your business, but I do it because of my privileges, and I consistently check my privilege. I know that I'm privileged by having a medical aid and having access, you know, to speak to a therapist. I do it because we are becoming an extremely depressive society. And the coping mechanisms that you see online, you can tell that the source of, you know, when people mock or whatever the case may be, they're not doing it because of whatever. I'm not justifying that behavior because you have a choice.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. But you can see that there's a deep-rooted underlying cause, which is not an excuse for you to be a shitty person, quite frankly. But what it is that it's also a cry for help for many that you can see that are crying for help.
I think what we've, through this episode, I hope that we've shared that we've gone through things, that you're probably going through things. There are coping mechanisms available. You can share, reach out to us, not necessarily maybe tell us your problems, but how you overcome some of the issues that happen. Because setting up boundaries, for example, is a constant challenge for me. Now, how do you do it? Who do you call on? Have you been through such a situation and how did you go through it? We are navigating life, and I think that's very important for us to exchange those tools. And I will remind you, subscribe, comment, like engage, share. I think it's very important to engage and share because this is a platform where we want growth for ourselves and as well as for you, as well as for someone who's listening.
Growth in numbers.
Yes, from myself, Uzotiti Zoitana, you smash me, but I'm grabbed. Media specialist, former journalist. I'm saying that love and light to everyone. I hope you have a good week ahead and just take the tools and take time out to write. Also scribble however you feel. Sometimes writing helps me because I am a writer. Dear writer, guys, or even your voice notes to yourself or notes to self, it's okay to do that. But I am with the beautiful
Sanelisi waiting to Beanie, aka Mama Gansika, Mama Ga steering, you know what I'm saying? The black car and the AKAs of AKAs. Yeah, guys, just reach out.
Yeah.
Please.
It's okay.
As hard as it is, reach out.
Take that leap.
Take that leap of faith.
We are proudly sponsored by.
Please, it's very key. It's very key. You say like proudly sponsored by, proudly brought to you by. Please.
Yes, please. By 7 and 9th Production Company. They specialize.
A podcast production company.
Yes, they specialize in podcasts. They are helping us create this content and be available to you guys. We can vouch for them. And if you like this podcast, clearly you could be a potential client for them. Okay, love and light. Love you guys. Till next week.
Bye.